Welcome to WebRTC Live. In WebRTC Live, we cover the latest technical topics and business use cases for WebRTC and live video. As always, this episode is brought to you by WebRTC.Ventures, leading integrators of WebRTC video into your custom application.
Welcome back to WebRTC Live. I'm your host, Arin Sime, CEO and founder of WebRTC.Ventures. We're a custom design and development firm specializing in live video applications, and we're here to help you take your video application live. You can learn more about us at WebRTC.Ventures. For today's episode, I'm really pleased to welcome Dan Jenkins. Dan is founder and CEO of Nimble Ape, one of the best named companies I know of. I love it. And Nimble Ape is a contracting and consulting agency based in the UK, but working globally, focused on VoIP, Asterisk, web development work. And Dan is also an organizer of the only open source RTC conference in the UK, ComCon UK, and a frequent speaker at RTC conferences globally. So today, Dan's going to talk to us about Asterisk, WebRTC, and DialogFlow. So thanks a lot for joining us today, Dan.
Thank you for having me.
And before we get into your presentation, always curious when talking with people right now with everything going on in the world, how are you managing with the COVID-19 pandemic and stay at home orders? How is that affecting your work?
So, I mean, from a personal level, that doesn't really affect me at all. I already had a office at home. I'm currently standing in it. It's an office in my garden.
By the way, I saw a picture of that on Twitter today. That is a beautiful building you've got there in your garden. I'm definitely jealous.
I couldn't So yeah, for everyone that hasn't seen the tweet, it's just essentially a big, classy shed. But no, like some people might call it a man cave. TV up on the wall and sit-stand desks and everything. No, like at the moment, my wife's at home, my 2-year-old son's at home all of the time. So for me to be able to kind of come away from the house and work in mostly quiet is hugely important. I say from a personal level, everything's fine. I almost hit burnout a couple of weeks ago, two weeks ago, something like that, where I was suddenly like, oh my God, I can't concentrate on anything. I'm absolutely shattered. I've just been working too much. So we had a long weekend in the UK. So I ended up taking a long weekend plus an extra day, and it really took some mental effort and my wife to kind of go, right, you need to stop. You need to take some time off. So from a personal level, I'm now fine because I took a break. From a business perspective, it's busy. Suddenly everyone wants home working and everyone wants support and everyone wants these extra new things and things that we've all been talking about for years. And suddenly everyone's very interested in it. So, I mean, from a business perspective, it's really good. I always feel very, very lucky whenever you hear reports on the news or whatever of businesses suffering. And I always just kind of thank whatever that real-time communication is now, well, it always was such an important tool, but now more than ever, it's an ever so increasing important tool. I've got friends who operate PSTN network type stuff, and they're seeing a huge drop in traffic because there's less business to business traffic, etc. But all of a sudden, everyone's doing video conferencing, so it can help certain people in RTC. It won't help other people. I'm just riding it out like everyone else.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. For our part, part of our business is more generic development services, and that's definitely taken a hit, unfortunately, in all of this. But the video and real-time communication portion of our business is certainly a lot of interest in it. Of course, as you kind of said too, the people who are just sort of discovering this way that we've been working and the way we've organized our businesses for years kind of want everything yesterday, because unfortunately they've been thrown into this. And you and I and others in this industry, at least we have the good fortune of already being used to working from home. But nonetheless, I can also appreciate the burnout conversations you've said. I'm having similar conversations myself. It's an interesting time, to be sure. So now a big part of what you do too with ComCon UK and just all, speaking at other conferences too. I'm curious what you're seeing in sort of the conference scene for 2020.
So unfortunately, we've had Open SIPs and we've had Camelio Wild in the VoIP space cancelled/postponed. I want to use the word postponed. They've both said that they want to put something on later on in the year if possible. So that would be great if it still can happen. Like ClueCon is still scheduled to happen in August. AstraCon is still, as far as I'm aware, still scheduled to be on in October. WebRTC events, like there are events that I would have expected to hear about by now and I haven't done. So that's a bad sign. There's another one. Basically there is nothing at the moment. There is nothing until at least I think August at the earliest. I think there's one possible WebRTC one in July, maybe. I can't remember. But at the same time, looking at it from a conference organizer perspective, who's going to want to get on a plane? Let's say all of this kind of dies down by the end of May.
Sure.
Who's going to want to get on a plane in June? Not many people. Unless you really have to, you're not going to go get on a plane. And are you going to go get on a plane in July? Maybe. It depends on what the airlines do. Are airline tickets going to be crazy expensive because no one's traveling? And not even that no one's traveling, the fact that they'll suddenly have to have social distancing on planes. So that means that you can only have half the number of people on a plane. So does that mean the price of a plane ticket is going to double? At which point do I think it's valid going to take Chicago, for example, with ClueCon? ClueCon is quite an expensive conference for me to go to anyway, just because of the time of year and everything else. If that's going to double in cost, then it becomes there's no point going from a business perspective. So it's not just the case of will people go, are conferences on, it's everything else that is going to affect that.
Yeah.
Hotel prices, plane ticket prices, those kinds of things.
Exactly.
Into US travel, whether or not that's not too affected, but then I always look at things from a European perspective coming over to the US. Interesting times. Are we going to see more virtual conferences? Potentially. It's something that I'm looking at for ComCon. Because I think it's, especially at the moment, I think there's some great stories to tell. How certain projects have battled with whatever and deployed loads of whatevers, like the Jitsi project led by 8x8 now. Like they were talking publicly the other day about how many instances that they've got deployed across the globe on AWS or whatever. And I think that's absolutely phenomenal. And those are the kinds of stories that we should be telling. And right now they're great stories. How do you get those out to people and still have a good event, not just, I don't know, everyone cramming onto a live stream in an SFU in Jitsi or whatever, and there not really being a event as such. It's just a come listen to Dan speak. I don't know. It's figuring out how to make that work.
Yeah. Well, I think coming and listening to Dan speak is an excellent idea, even remotely. We have people doing it today, but nonetheless, yeah, it's definitely interesting. And even those of us in the WebRTC space, obviously, we're big fans of live video and remote work and all that. But at the same time, I think all of us would agree too that it's really nice going to a conference together in person and having that in-person networking and the ability to go have a beer afterwards at the pub. So it'll be an interesting year in that space, but I totally agree. There's some great stories to tell. So one way or another, I hope those stories get told. We'll, if I don't see you in person, we'll maybe see at some virtual conferences. So
absolutely.
So let's get into a little bit of Asterisk here. Why don't you tell us more about WebRTC, Asterisk, and DialogFlow?
Cool. Okay. So I guess first off, I should say 100% of all of the content is my personal opinion. And whether or not the Asterisk project, for example, or any other project agrees with what I say, this is all my opinion. So I guess just a very quick thing about Nimble Ape. Yeah, we're based in the UK and we do real-time communication consultancy primarily. I'd probably say 90 to 95% of our business is RTC and only RTC. And that's probably why we're less impacted by everything that's going on. We do an awful lot of WebRTC mobile native apps, for example, and yeah, we organize ComCon as well. And then the reason why I say more recently, Dialogflow, Google Speech to Text, IBM Watson, is changes in Asterisk have essentially enabled me as a web developer to start integrating Asterisk into these tools. Whereas before you had to write C code or whatever to be able to or write really bad code, in my personal opinion, to be able to integrate these things. I don't write really bad code intentionally, so I didn't do that. And B, I can't write C. So the recent changes in Asterisk have enabled me to do all of this kind of new stuff. So yeah, Asterisk, if you don't know what Asterisk is, you should go to asterisk.org and take a look. Basically, it started off as an open source PBX. So an open source VoIP phone system, and it could handle voicemail, it could handle queues, conference bridges. It could follow you around. So like it has an application called Meet Me, where you can call one phone and then it calls another phone and it call your mobile phone anyway. So it was very much a VoIP telephony thing. But probably, I don't know, 7 years ago when I started getting involved, it was becoming more of this open source media engine, and it's got APIs. And me being a web developer, I like APIs, and I dislike config files that are horrible. So Asterisk has something called the dial plan. I hate the dial plan. It's this really, if you know it really well, then you love it. But I don't like the dial plan at all, and I like instructing things with APIs, right? So Asterisk can take media in via RTP, secure RTP, DTLS, etc. And then you can then control it using external APIs. There's one called the AMI, which is the Asterisk Manager Interface. There's another one called the AGI, which is the Asterisk Gateway Interface, I think. And then there's the ARI, which is the Asterisk RESTful Interface. You can tell which one I like using, the Asterisk RESTful Interface, because I'm a web developer. So let's take a look at Asterisk and WebRTC. Asterisk pretty much been WebRTC capable since the very beginning of WebRTC. It must be about 7 years ago, maybe a little bit more, because WebRTC is older than 7 now, where I was trying desperately to get a WebRTC example working with SIPML5. I personally don't like SIPML5 anymore for many, many reasons. I know many people do enjoy using it, but it's not something that I use anymore. But I do remember using it way back when and talking to Josh Colt on IRC going, help, I can't figure out how to make this work. And I can only imagine at the time he was going, "Oh, these noobs!" Like he would never have said that because that's not the guy he is. But like, oh, these people that just don't understand how all of this works. But that's the thing, right? WebRTC and kind of more web enabling Asterisk enables people like me to come in and build some cool stuff with Asterisk. So so that was then. This is now, so Asterisk is now what we call an SFU, a selective forwarding unit, and it enables us to be able to do conferencing better and to be able to do certain things in the future easier, I guess. So, for example, some things that aren't amazing in my personal opinion, Asterisk still mixes the audio. Like, so everyone sends up their audio up to Asterisk. And then Asterisk mixes it all together and then sends down that mix, that individual mix, because each participant has their own individual mix, right? So Asterisk mixes it all for you still and sends it down as one, and then sends you multiple video tracks down the one stream. So that's like this peculiar thing because of how Asterisk historically worked. And there's still limitations, but I mean, it's still useful. It's entirely useful for a subset of people that say are already using Asterisk and want some basic video conferencing or whatever built, and they don't want to run something like Jitsi or build something with Janus or whatever. So it is absolutely useful. But a couple, when they first announced the SFU portion of Asterisk, they released something called CyberMegaphone 2000, and it was at this horrible UI that, to be fair to the Asterisk team, they said, well, we didn't put any effort in because, you know, we don't want people to use it. Like, you should go and build your own. And there I was in the room going, oh, it's hurting my eyes. And then it took, so that you can see there, that was 2017. So it then took me 3 years to go, okay, enough's enough. Let's go and build something and contribute it back open source to the whole ecosystem. So back in January, I want to say, or maybe in December last year, I built something called Dana. And Dana is the stream gatekeeper, a Ghostbusters reference. Dana's built on modern web tech. So it uses React, it uses Webpack, all of the good web stuff we expect, being able to write separate files and have them all get combined and do nice web component type stuff. That's all in Dana. So you can go and clone that down. There's a nice blog post there that you can go read. But basically, yeah, I'd kind of had enough of seeing this. And so went and built Dana. But the really cool thing is Dana's become, it's not just this SFU front end. It's now become this kind of ground for testing things. So what's that on the left-hand side of that screenshot? It's transcriptions. So this really gave me the opportunity to start looking at what was new inside of Asterisk and to be able to start building stuff with that. So this is something called external media in Asterisk. And I believe it's the most interesting thing to have happened in Asterisk in years and years and years. Sure, WebRTC in Asterisk is very useful. But everyone has WebRTC, right? Like FreeSwitch has WebRTC, Kamailio and RTP Engine combined can do WebRTC. So it's figuring out the right tool for the right job. And this has enabled me to go off and do a load of extra cool stuff. So external media basically allows you to create an external RTP stream off to anywhere and be able to send real-time media to anything. So there's no SIP involved, there's no signaling involved, there's no SDP involved. It's just, here's this stream of RTP. You have to tell it like, oh, I want you to send it here, and here's some settings. But it's really quite, I don't want to use the word dumbed down because I'm sure it's extremely difficult for the Asterisk team to have done it all. But for me, it's this entirely dumb thing that you can kind of just go, right, chuck RTP over here. So let's take a quick look. I made a, I don't know if this audio is going to work because I didn't get asked to share my video. Hold on. Let's see whether or not I can, let's stop sharing for a second. We didn't test this. Screen share, application
no, we didn't.
window. It doesn't give me the option to send my computer audio. That's fine. Application window. And then let's go back to that. Share that. And then I'm just gonna output it through my Mac speakers.
Okay.
Output device, MacBook Pro speakers. So you should now be coming out of my MacBook Pro speakers. So let's turn those up. So this is that video. So I recorded this video earlier because I knew that demos and real-time media, while on real-time media, things go wrong. So this is a demo of that transcription working.
So we've got Dana here. Dana is a front end for Asterisk's SFU. Let's just start up the.
So there's two projects here. I'm going to talk over myself. And there's two projects. There's an ARI bridge, and that handles like the actual conferencing ability and all the instructions.
Yes, I do look really good.
I do look really good. I've got lockdown hair, and so there's an ARI bridge, and then there's an audio server, and you can see there that as I'm talking, there's real-time transcriptions coming.
Either the audio is being sent over for Asterisk using external media, and then you can see the transcription coming back. And if I take a pause, you'll see it'll start a new one. So now I can start talking again, and then it sees it as a new transcription, and you can see it replacing the full stop or the period at the end of that sentence where it thinks, he hasn't actually finished.
Okay, so that's enough of that. But you can see there, so the tab on the left is an ARI bridge. Basically, it gets a call, and it gets instructed that there's a call, and then it puts everyone that came into the same air quote extension. So my ARI video conference in this case, everyone gets put into a bridge that's called that, and then we snoop. We snoop on every single channel. So if you were in that video conference, you would have got a transcription for you, not a combined transcription for everyone in the conference. You would have got your own personal transcription. And that's done by snooping on every single person on that call and sending like 6 different streams up to Google, and being able to transcribe each of them completely independently. Funnily enough, you can actually send the 6 all in one up to Google, but you have to tell them, like, person A is Dan and person B is Arin, but at this point we don't really know, so it's easier to just take them all as separate things. So yeah, the left is the ARI bridge, and then on the right, in the middle, is this an audio server that understands RTP. Luckily, there's a node module that understands RTP, and I've got very clever friends that know RTP, because I don't. So knowing to chop off the first 12 bytes of the audio that I get given, because it's an RTP header, I wouldn't have known. I've got very good friends. But that just proves how easy it is in the grand scheme of things. There's 3. I'll show you 3 links in a minute. But in the grand scheme of things, how easy it is now to be able to send media up to Google or IBM Watson or whatever. So how would we have done this before? I'm really sorry for my sketch things, but it was the only way that I could really draw it all out this morning. So how would this have been done before using Asterisk? So most likely you would have written something called using the AGI, and it would have used AGI, it would have used a script on the same box as Asterisk, and it would have written to a file. How is Dan's lockdown here?
Sorry, I had to pull the audience. You said it was off.
I'll do it later. So yeah, it would have had to, and then the AGI would have instructed Asterisk to actually record the audio to disk, and then sent it out to Asterisk. Actually, no, that's not entirely true. You could actually take it out of a file descriptor as well. But either way, you've still got this script running on Asterisk. And so if you've got like 100 concurrent channels and you're sending them all to Google, you've now got 100 separate like Python processes or PHP processes on that box as well, all handling media/instructions. And that's not very good. Anyone that knows anything about VoIP knows that like you really want the one thing doing that thing on that box. You don't want Node running on that box. You don't want all of this other stuff happening. So yeah, we would have started an AGI script and we would have recorded audio, or we would have pulled it out using a file descriptor, and then we would have uploaded it, and then we would have got some results, and then rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Whereas now, using external media, we can do this. So all of these things are separate. So we can now run an ARI service, we can now run an RTP server, and we can run Asterisk, and they're all completely separate, and we can scale them entirely separately. And it's all using nice web tech, like nice node modules and things like that. And we can deploy them in the way that we expect to be able to deploy things nowadays. So there's 3 projects there. There's Dana, the stream gatekeeper, and that's the front end. Then there's Dana TSG ARI bridge. So that's the ARI service. And then there's the RTP STT audio server, the RTP speech to text audio server. And that's very much just a case of taking RTP packets in and then passing them around in a load of node streams, and then you pipe them to Google's API using Google's node module. When you look at the code, it's actually not that complex at all, and it's all open source now. It's all released under the MIT license. So that's nice. That's Dana, and that's real-time transcription, and that was my first foray into using external media. But something I'd really wanted to do for a long time now is integrate Asterisk with Dialogflow. And that's because I guess a core reason why I wanted to be able to do it, A, it's cool. B, lots of other projects could already do it using like modules that were written in C or whatever. Or there were already things that you could use within Asterisk, or like you had to like build them into Asterisk at compile time. It was just this huge annoyance, and I really wanted a nice way of being able to do it. And external media allows me to do it again. So with Dana and this real time, there it is. So you'll notice all the media is flowing in one direction. But with Dialogflow, we suddenly need to be able to handle two-way audio. So let's take a look at that. So again, there's an ARI bridge, and in this case, it's a one-to-one bridge. So a call comes in, and then we call out to Dialogflow. And then on the right, there's a Dialogflow RTP audio server.
Hi, want to hear a joke?
Yeah, can you tell me a joke, please?
Always remember that you are unique, just like everyone else.
Can you tell me another joke?
I was going to donate blood until the lady got all personal and started asking, whose blood is this and how did you get it?
These are
Anyway, so Dialogflow gives you a built-in agents that you can just say, yes, let's go use a built-in agent. And so that's a joke built-in agent. They've got lots of them for like currency conversion and things like that. And Dialogflow as a tool is amazing. So that's pretty cool, right? I called in via my SIP soft phone to an extension. So that could be, we could do this via the PSTN. I could call from my mobile phone to a normal number and then be given a Dialogflow bot. And it would be able to, I don't know, read me stuff that was local to me. I don't know, could do anything. Like you could go and order a pizza using Dialogflow, and then using their fulfillment API, it could then go off to Domino's API and actually order you a pizza. That's pretty cool. Right. So how would we have done this before? Again, we've got all of this recording, like, and even if we weren't using recordings originally, and we were streaming out of file descriptors, to be able to play that audio in, you absolutely do have to write it to disk somewhere. And again, you could do this using ARI, but then you'd end up writing it to a file on your web server. And then you'd end up giving Asterisk this URL to this file, which it would then have to go and download. You can imagine all the added latency that's happening. And so even the extra 5 milliseconds or whatever it takes to write to disk, to then be able to send it over HTTP to Asterisk, for it to then buffer it, to then play it, that is added latency, and therefore the bot doesn't feel like a natural bot because there's too many delays and too many pauses. So that's how you would have done it before. You've got this rinse repeat action of some description, whether or not that's with AGI or with ARI. And now it's this simple. You write your ARI script. In this case, I wrote an ARI bridge that basically takes a one-to-one call. So you call in and it takes the call and it bridges it to an external media channel. And that external media channel goes off to Dialogflow, goes off to that RTP server. I mean, there's actually another bit in there. There's an MQTT server that kind of makes things happen all at the same time on both servers. But I'm not running an MQTT server. I'm using Mosquito's test server. So to get started with it, it's actually relatively painless. So for those two projects, there's no front end on that needed. So there's only two projects, and that's all MIT licensed as well. And for me, the main thing is it's all written in JavaScript, and it's all, I don't know, it's all accessible. Not that Asterisk wasn't accessible before, but you kind of needed to really understand. You needed to understand media, whereas now that the base is there that understands the media within the Node project, it understands RTP and it strips all the right things, and when it chucks it back, it makes it into a proper RTP stream. So that's all taken care of within the Node app. Being able to expand it to talk to IBM Watson or any other provider, you could go do that in a couple of hours, maybe. Like that's to me, that's the powerful bit. And then the fact that you can then combine all of this with WebRTC and have WebRTC conferencing going on or whatever, and Asterisk just takes care of the media engine part. It takes care of, oh, I've got a WebRTC endpoint and I've got a normal RTP endpoint in this case, and I'm going to merge them together and everything just works. I think that's really, really powerful. So that's the Dialogflow project, and that's up on GitHub as well. And then that's kind of the end of what I wanted to talk about, and what's kind of what the exciting stuff in Asterisk that I'm really excited about in the past year or so. But at the same time, I wanted to point out a couple of other projects that are really interesting. So I did a talk a month ago or so, just before COVID-19 happened, or lockdown happens. And I did a talk at an event called Simcom 3, an operator. They're not really an operator. Simon would kill me for saying that. They're a provider in the UK called Simwood, and they're also now available in the US. And they've got an event called Simcom. And I made a really cool demo that sent thermonuclear bombs all over the world based on phone numbers, and then blew up cities all around the world. I had like WebRTC sessions open to phone numbers in all of those places that Sim would like have phone numbers in. And then whenever there was an explosion, it would take a webhook result from Simwood, and based on that webhook, it would then light up a Hue light bulb using if this and that to imitate a bomb going off. So I think that's a really cool talk. Not that it's entirely applicable to everyone because they're not Simwood customers, but it gives a lot of insight into what's actually possible in joining loads of APIs together. So that's a really cool talk, in my opinion. There's another project called API Ban, run by LOD, my friend called Fred Posner. And this has saved my ass so much over the past couple of weeks. Basically, it's this great API that has a list of IP addresses that are really bad for VoIP services. So like my Asterisk box was getting hammered by a crap ton of registrations and invites and everything, and Fail to Ban is a tool that is supposed to look at my log files and ban people. For some reason, it had stopped working. So I just implemented API Ban, and it's really, really simple. And immediately, I've got no bad traffic on my Asterisk box anymore. So API Ban is an amazing thing that I want more people to know about. And then there's this other talk from Dave Horton, the guy that made Dractio. And he gave this talk at SimCon as well. But it's DialogFlow with Dractio and FreeSwitch. Basically, everything that I've been talking about with Asterisk, you can now do with Dractio and with FreeSwitch as the media engine. So he gave that talk at SimCon 3 as well, and all of his code is all open source as well. So there's a FreeSwitch module, for example, that you have to compile into FreeSwitch. So that's one of the reasons why I really like Asterisk's external media API, because it can just be this bog standard Asterisk. You don't have to do anything funky. Whereas everything else requires you to have these extra modules or whatever. But if you come from FreeSwitch land, then that might be a really great example for you. That's open source. I know that the FreeSwitch team, for example, do have a SignalWire, not SignalWire. The SignalWire team have a commercial module, or at least they did, for DialogFlow, but obviously you have to pay for it. And then SignalWire as a service now offer DialogFlow in this one-click thing, one-click type thing, and that's great if you want a hosted type service. But if you love open source software and you love running stuff yourself, then there are options out there. And then I think my last one, tomorrow, me and Fred are going to do that's a really bad link. I didn't change the link. There we go. That's what I was after. We're going to host a 1 hour, maybe a bit longer if people stick around. We're going to host a open clinic for RTC. Awesome. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. UK time. Fred tells me that's 10 a.m. Eastern time. So what's that? 9 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. for Pacific. I think that's right. And then more importantly, that'll be like 4 p.m. Central European time, because it's always a massive pain in the rear to join these types of things that in Europe. Anyway, so yeah, me and Fred will be on an open clinic at that URL, meet.lodvoip.com/rtccast tomorrow. Just come hang out. Like we're all in the same boat together. So you can either just come and hang out and chit chat for an hour, or you can come and join and you can ask a specific question. Obviously, we both run consulting businesses, so we won't be giving away a ton of free advice. Like, don't come and ask us to architect a solution for you in the hour. But we're more than happy to help people if they've got any questions at all. And then my last slide was that one. So WebRTC Live, not full of WebRTC. But yeah, WebRTC apps aren't just built on WebRTC, are they? So it's being able to bring all of these different things together. And that's, to me, that's the really cool thing about the web generally. And that's why I love writing web apps, because it enables us to kind of have this huge access to this great ecosystem, and no other ecosystem is like it. So yeah, that's the end. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. And yeah, great presentation. Definitely broadened my view of Asterisk from it. So very cool. Thank you. And completely agree with the last points there too. I mean, something we often say is that, yeah, WebRTC is great, live video is great, but really the value is often more than just the video, right? It's really about what you do around that video, with the video, how you integrate that into an application, a business process. So completely agree with you. Although this is WebRTC Live, I love seeing, talking about the things that go around it as well. So great presentation. Really appreciate it. Want to make sure that you know that the incredibly important poll that I put out during this, 88% of our viewers agree that your lockdown hair is awesome, and they're jealous. But there's 13% who believe that theirs is better. So maybe we can get them on a future WebRTC Live and compare. But no, definitely appreciate it. We have a question here from Poop McPoopface, who would like to ask, does Asterisk handle Opus codec?
It does. So yeah, short answer is it does. Long answer is you have to get a codec. Well, basically it's not simple. You can go get an open source Opus codec yourself and compile it into Asterisk, but it's a bit of a pain. You could go get, while installing Asterisk, you can go get an Opus codec from Sangoma/Digium. But it's technically a closed source codec. So if you're not happy with that, then that's an issue. And then finally, neither of those solutions give you all the goodness of Opus, that being able to handle adaptive bit rates completely and utterly. But then again, the Opus codec in, say, RTP engine doesn't give you that either. The only one that I know of that actually gives you proper adaptive bitrate is the one in FreeSwitch.
Okay, thanks. And we also have another question from Michael. How would you approach implementing chroma key or background replacement in a WebRTC client? And I believe as a follow-up, can or should it be done in the browser?
To be honest, I've never tried. However, I can only imagine it is possible. So it is possible using the browser's Canvas API. You can absolutely do it. Whether or not it's performant enough to be able to go and do it, I'm not 100% certain. Short answer is I haven't seen enough people try and do it to know to believe that it's easy. So for example, in Jitsi, you can do it. It's like this beta version in Jitsi that I saw the other day, but it's not very good from what I've seen. If you compare it to, say, Microsoft Teams or the Z word, Zoom, that everyone seems to be talking about at the moment, then it's nowhere near as good. FreeSwitch has this ability, but they do it all server side in their MCU. So long and short of it, yes, it will definitely be possible in a browser. Would it be performant enough to make it believable? I don't believe it would be, but that would be a really cool test to go and do when I'm not so busy.
All right. Well, Michael, if you beat Dan to testing that out yourself, let us know how it goes. All right, Dan, I want to thank you very much for an excellent presentation, fun discussion. Always good to speak with you. Look forward to doing this again sometime. I hope we can get you back. And thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
And thanks to all of you for joining us today on WebRTC Live. We'll post this episode to WebRTC Ventures and YouTube in the coming days. Make sure you also check out Dan on Twitter for the links to the open chat that he's doing tomorrow. Dan, you want to remind everybody of your website and Twitter handles?
Yeah, so website is Nimble Ape, nimblea.pe. So write Nimble Ape and then put a dot before PE. Or just go to nimble-ape.com and I think it should still redirect to you, but it might not. So that's the business site. Yeah, we do consulting, we do everything. And then Twitter handle is just Dan_Jenkins. Really, really, really easy. Awesome. And feel free to tweet me / follow me / ask questions. Tell me I'm an idiot. I get that all the time.
All right. Well, if you want to keep up with upcoming episodes of WebRTC Live, you can join our email list at WebRTC Ventures or follow us here on Big Marker. And our next WebRTC Live is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, May 6th at noon Eastern with Manik Sakcheva from Vonage to discuss augmented reality. So another conversation around WebRTC. So thanks again for joining us today, Dan, and for everyone watching, and let's make it live.
Thanks for joining us for WebRTC Live. Visit our website at WebRTC.ventures to learn more about our custom design and development services, and to learn more about upcoming episodes of WebRTC Live.